I'd like to call the meeting of the Goose Rocks Beach Advisory Committee to order. It's 6 o'clock. We have 5 people here in person. We have 2 hybrid, or?
We'll be joining.
We have 2 that'll be joining, but we have 5, so I think we can get started. So, the first thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the March 17th meeting and the April. I think there's 2 here. Hold on. No, I guess we just have March. Any corrections, changes, anything?
We do have a quorum though, right? Even
Yeah,
right here with the 5.
We've got a quorum,
Yep.
so we're fine.
I approve that I move that we accept the minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, great, thank you. The next section is the public comment for items not on the agenda. So I have a couple, but I'll start with people in the audience. If anybody has anything they want to say, or, yep, just identify yourself and then fire away. Thanks.
Hi, Rob Wengel, 873 Kings Highway. My wife and I started vacationing here, I don't know, about 15 years ago. We moved up here permanently 2.5 years ago. So we weren't here for the divisiveness that led to the 2012 agreement and to the founding of this board. But we've kind of had a little bit of a sense that there's maybe more animosity than is needed in the community. And I know, as I read your accountability, you're not charged with promoting goodwill in the community. But
It's okay. That's dead.
Keep talking.
Keep talking.
keep talking.
Test 1, 2. 4 years
Exactly.
ago.
We should be good.
All right, this is better?
Sorry for the
Yeah.
interruption.
Okay.
That's all right.
Sorry.
So, as I was looking at your responsibilities and thinking about the beach, there's a lot of responsibility for enforcing the beach use agreement. There's responsibility for protecting our natural resources. But I was thinking about, yesterday was prompted, I don't know how many people made it to the Memorial Day parade, but President Bush got up and impromptu spoke about the need for civility and community and being good neighbors. And I just want to encourage us to the extent we can to, as we approach things, can we think about the mental model in a balanced way, think about our tone, think about, as we're approaching things, can we make sure that we recall the primary reason we're here? So while there's a lot of effort to protect natural resources, we're also here for humanity, and we're here for neighborhoods, and we're here to support the community. I've done a lot of listening to neighbors, residents, friends recently, and there's just a lot of frustration that it feels like this is not a place that is inviting and welcoming. I've had cashiers at local stores who live in town who say, I don't feel welcome at Goose Rocks. So just a friendly, thoughtful encouragement that as we approach things, that it's, yes, we have to enforce things, but how do we see the positive things? How do we find ways to encourage the community that Goose Rocks is intended to be? And remember that we're about humans and families enjoying the resources, enjoying the beach, enjoying the community. So a few examples of some things. There's one neighbor that has painted on all of their seawall rocks, or not all of them, about 5 or 6, keep off. Now, Ms. Sherman, I think you've very politely put up a sign in front of one of your properties to say, please be careful on these rocks, it's dangerous, as opposed to keep off. But it was kind of representative of what some people feel the beach is like. I pulled one of the brochures. I know it takes a lot of work to create it. And when you open the Welcome to Goose Rocks brochure, the first thing you see is the 20 things you can't do. And I'm just wondering if there's small examples of, can we make the brochure first truly welcome people? Maybe talk briefly about the history, talk about the Barrier Islands, talk about what the community's about. Yes, we need to be clear and we need to make sure that there are no doubts about the rules that need to be followed, but I think there's just anything that you can do as you are enforcing the agreement, as you're doing the job you've volunteered to do it in a way that starts with a positive intent first and really just kind of thinks about the purpose of the community and the purpose of the beach. Small things, tactical things. I just encourage anything we do to get the tone to be positive and thoughtful. And as I was thinking of other potential actions, I don't know if we ever do a beach community survey about people's experience and people's thoughts, but I do think there's a loud minority, and I think there's a fairly silent majority. A lot of my friends who've come back for the summer, who aren't year-round residents, have asked questions about what's happening, and there's just a bit of a sense of everything's about all the things I can't do here anymore, as opposed to how do we make this welcoming? How do we make this beach the community we want? So that's just a few thoughts. A survey, a positive attitude, and anything we can do to encourage our community to come together. Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. May I?
Go ahead.
You respond? Rob, I want to tell you about the seawall, my personal experience with it. When I was a child, they put in a new seawall, and one of the boulders came loose, and my thumb was removed from my hand. And I still have that problem. So it is a serious problem to keep people off the seawall and away from the seawall. And maybe we could say it nicely, but people do need to tell kids that don't understand and haven't been here that the seawall is a dangerous, and it moves, with the tides and then it just moves, so.
And it's the homeowner's responsibility and liability
Exactly.
if someone gets hurt.
But they did reattach my thumb.
No, but the addition of please is a good way to do it, so, thank you. Are there any other comments from the audience here? Are there any other comments online?
Good point.
We have Denise.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, my name's Denise Moser, and we've been at Goose Rocks for about 35 years. We're not there full-time, but the gentleman that spoke, I totally agree with him, how things have shifted, and we care more about what we cannot do as opposed to what we can do. And I totally agree that it feels very, hard word to say, disjointed in a sense, that it just doesn't feel like it used to be. There just seems to be more rules, more, don't do this, can't do that. I really feel that we need to adjust everything that we're doing to create more of a community, because it's been more of a separation than that. So I just wanted to voice and agree with the gentleman that spoke that that is a very, very loud part of what I hear as well from friends, people visiting, community around that do not feel welcomed. And I just wanted to stand up and agree with that I would like to see a better approach to how we go forward with all of this, and see if we can, as a community, make it more welcoming, more friendly, and enjoyable like it did when our son was growing up there, and for us, for the future.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Is there anyone else out there?
No, their hands raised.
Okay, all right, thank you. I have a couple of other items. I just wanted to say thank you to Bill and the Natural Resources Group for organizing the cleanup and getting everything ready for the spring and the summer now that the sun's come out. It's great. So I think last week I gave a presentation to the Board of Selectmen, which has asked for each committee to come in once a year and kind of give an update. And we got a lot of thank yous from the Board of Selectmen for the Select Board for the cleanup at the beach and things like that, and all the effort that we put in. So I just wanted to share that with people. And I think the other question that I had, really, we had sort of canvassed people about the summer meetings at the fire station, and I would welcome your thoughts, because typically we do the summer meetings at the Goose Rocks fire stations. Hopefully we get more people to come. And we have tried to have speakers, and then sometimes people are more interested in socializing. So one of my questions is, what do people want to do with the July and August meetings at the fire station in Goose Rocks, given there'll be more people around, and maybe we don't have as formal an agenda, but I'm open to ideas that people might have for those meetings.
So Last year, it was really hard to hear people, but we now have a microphone, so that would solve that issue?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the acoustics should be better, but it's
Right.
still hot if you have
It is
two
hot.
fans on.
It
It
is
can be
hot.
hot.
Yeah,
It is hot.
but I mean, if you have some ideas, we're open, we've got the third Monday as sort of our cadence of meetings just because of the hybrid part for the rest of the year, but please let me know. I don't have a plan, but we'd like to make it, and I think that might be a good opportunity to open things up if you've got some ideas for that, so. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the working group reports and start with public safety. Is Chaz on, or?
I am on, Pam. I'm sorry I
Okay.
was late.
No problem.
I don't have a lot to report yet, but in taking the last comments into on board, I will report that our newest member, Barry Engel, has agreed to join the Traffic and Safety Committee, but he's on a plane to Peru at the moment, so not here this evening. But in looking ahead to the items that are hung over from last summer, I know the concerns are speeding and traffic and parking on the beach. So positive things people can do to be part of the community is people can slow down. They can park in designated spots and they can observe stop signs. Pedestrians can walk facing traffic so that people in cars can know that they've been seen. And importantly, the CSOs will be starting in a few weeks, the community service officers, and they're there to help at the moment on the scene. And so I know that we'll talk about this again, but the idea that if there's a problem, people should share it or ask questions of these community service officers, all of whom are nice people, and many of them I hope will be coming back from prior years, so that they're a resource that I think we all need to not be afraid to use. There are a couple of non-BAC members who are, now that I've been reelected anyway, we will invite to join us once summer gets closer. So that by June and certainly by July, I expect to have a more detailed report to share with you. But that's all I have at the moment, Pam.
Chaz, I just have one question I know we discussed a couple meetings ago, the idea of having the house numbers on the beach-facing side of houses. Where did we leave that?
We left that without a clear way to affirmatively encourage it.
So I
But
actually,
the concern is mainly at the fire department and the emergency service people who, when they get a call for help at the beach, the person calling doesn't always have an idea where they are on the beach. And by the gray house doesn't really help. And so the idea has been to post large enough numbers on the ocean side of oceanfront houses so that you can look up and say, as you can in my house, there's someone in trouble at near 545 Kings Highway, and the fire department and EMS will then know exactly where to go. But it hasn't been made a rule or a town rule or a regulation or a must do. A couple of years ago, I think we did a mailing to all the beachfront owners that resulted in 2 people putting numbers on their homes, and I don't think there's been any change since then.
so based on the last meeting, I had said I'd reach out to the fire chief to get more of an indication, should we send a letter, what should it say? I didn't get a response back. Now that I'm up here, I'm gonna try and get in touch with him again. So I'll take that one.
Okay, great, super, Holly, thank you. Okay. Natural resources.
Well,
I'm gonna let you talk and then Carol's gonna talk
okay,
about
she'll
the
talk
flowers.
about the plovers. I just wanted to thank everyone that helped. We had 2 separate days. We did, I wanted to get steak and twine done before April vacation, so Paul and Dan and Dawn and my buddy Dean, and I think that was it. There was 5 or 6 of us. We got all the new dunes staked. We had done the right-of-ways last fall, but we did all that, and it was great. I couldn't even lay the steaks out before the steak pounders were getting them in, so it was great. But I did want to thank everybody. We had a much larger crew for the beach cleanup, and it was a mix of people from all over the beach, and I wanted to thank, there was a group of 4 or maybe even 5 people from the Tides. They brought trash bags, they brought work gloves for everybody. It was a good, and they did from Little River all the way down till they met the next group walking towards them. So they did a pretty good stretch of beach, so. Didn't get as much in the dumpster as last year, but we didn't have a storm like we did, thank goodness. Although I did notice just the other day, anyone who walks the beach after a storm like we had last week, there's more junk on the beach again, so. Oh, and I wanted to, I checked the town website, and apparently the water testing starts in June sometime. So I'm assuming that the June 10th was the first posting last year, so that's.
In that ballpark.
Yeah, in that
First week of
ballpark,
June, yeah.
great. And so it is funded, we're all set for now.
Set and roll.
Perfect, perfect. That was my only concern, but I did want to thank everybody. You know, these are the highest tides of the spring this week, right now, so if we come through this without a storm, we'll, knock on wood, right?
Yeah,
We'll
right.
be fine.
Right.
So, at least for this year.
That's great, okay.
I
thank
do
you.
have something, may I add just a request?
Sure.
I'd like to ask a retroactive funding request.
Okay,
John Crowder and I have been working with a class in UNE to look at how the seagrass is going to hopefully reestablish itself between this spring and into the fall, and maybe we'll hopefully continue it on next year. So John spent $126.57 on material. What we did is we ran orthogonal stakes, sample lines, so going perpendicular to the strand line, and we'll be measuring with a 1 meter quadrant. We'll be laying them down and counting the number of plants that are in each quadrant, their health, and they have done that actually, yes, or they have finished that piece. And then in the fall, we'll go back and measure again and see what's grown in there and what the health of the grass are. So,
It looks great right now.
great.
It's
work.
all sprouting, it's great. As a matter of fact, I moved Steak and Twine out as you go down the beach to the right of the right-of-way by Belvedere, by the tides.
Right,
The grass had come out another 20 feet. It's already sprouted that
Yeah.
far out,
and
so
that's
I
the
moved.
old roots.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
the old roots
So
coming
I
up, which is
moved the Steak and Twine.
marvelous.
I consulted my expert, so.
yeah,
Perfect.
that's good.
So
So do you want to make a motion and then?
if I could,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
could make a motion that the BAC requests from the town funding in support of dune restoration, $126.57.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye,
I can vote to pay myself.
yes, exactly. Thank you, John and
Thank
John
you,
for
thank you,
doing
John.
that. Super, thank you. And Carol with the plovers.
Plovers are doing okay. The latest report I have from Maine Audubon, this is before Memorial Day weekend. The state of Maine has 167 pairs of plovers. Last year, they had 143 pairs. Wow. So we have the rain sort of helps the plovers, because I think it sort of protects them, because there are not as many people on the beach. Goose Rocks has 15 pair. They all started at the west end, but they decided they didn't like it so much so they then moved down to Dinghy Point, and then from Dinghy Point, they've now moved down to the east end. So we have plovers all over Goose Rocks Beach. The first chicks have been hatched in wells, and, which is really early, and we like that because then they'll leave. And so for the busy time of year, we won't have the plovers, because if they lose their nest, then they re-nest, and we have them, which I like, but not everybody likes, for the summer. I don't know what else to tell you about them, except for please teach people about them. And one of the best parts of our beach, we're very fortunate that we can teach our children and grandchildren about endangered species, and able to actually see an endangered species. Our grandkids are now 26, and they still remember it, and they still look for them when they, from remembering when they were here as kids, so. That's all I have to say. Positively, I have to say.
Thank you, Carol. Holly, on communications?
Sure, so We do have an email list that goes out. We're up to almost 500 folks who have provided email addresses. So if you haven't, or for some reason you're not receiving it, because maybe you want to double check that your email is right, please send it. It's it's on the website, the town website, but it's also GRB Advisory Committee at kennebunkportme.gov if you want to be added. So we have the next meetings, June 16th will be at this location, right?
Yep.
And then question mark, but the next two meetings will be July 21st and August 18th.
And those two are gonna be at the Goose Rocks Fire Station, so they won't be hybrid, but they'll hopefully be more approachable because they're
Okay.
closer.
Okay, so you have made the decision
Yeah,
to keep
yeah.
them there. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's all I had to share today.
Well, thanks for getting all the
Thank you.
constant contact stuff out in the newsletter.
Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah, I mean, it was nice to be able to see, usually it's just about the meeting and the
Yeah.
agendas, but there was a lot of information that was really useful this year, this spring, to get out, so.
Perfect, so,
Yeah, that
thank you
was-
very much for
Sure,
sharing.
it was good.
All right, so I'm gonna move on to old business. We have the trash transition is what I call it. I don't know, Kate, if you wanna make a couple comments, or John, or combination, do you wanna?
Yeah, well, the trash is in transition,
Yes.
but
Yes.
hopefully everyone has their 64-gallon containers and are being sure to put them out so that the front of the container is facing the road, not the handles, as has been happening a lot, so they have to get out and turn them around. And we'll talk about the sizes later, right? So we'll talk about or you want to talk about
Just
sizes
do it now, let's just
All right.
stay on trash.
Yeah, and so, in speaking to Casella, they have a concern about the 96-gallon containers. That if a large object gets, because the mouth, obviously the top is larger, if a large solid object gets put in there, it can damage the mechanisms in the truck that switch between the two. So they would rather go to a 64-gallon size container. And I said, that'd be fine, but I want two of them, not one of them. And they're willing to do that.
So there would be two of those at each entrance?
There'd be two at each entrance. So
Okay.
we basically have 128-gallon capacity rather than 96. So we win in terms of volume. As far as being blown over, those large containers, any container when it's empty is gonna be susceptible to being blown over.
Yeah.
But the broader the container, the easier the wind's gonna blow it over. So I don't think it's any more risk of being blown over. And I'd like to ask what your druthers would be. We can do the 196. If we say we want it, then, they'll do it. But they'd prefer 64, and I think 264s is a win.
Sure.
So that's just my thought.
How often are they being empty? Once a week?
Every day.
So
Every day. in
we
the
just have to
interstate.
make sure they're facing the right direction. each
That's
night.
right, that's
Yeah.
right.
Point,
Well, they get put down, so hopefully they'll stay there. So unless somebody actually turns them around, well, if they get blown over, they'll have to be turned around.
The tops blow open more than
Yeah,
Yeah,
than
they do.
they
Yeah.
blow over. Once there's stuff in them, they don't blow over.
yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Tops
Yeah.
blow off, open all the time.
right,
Yeah.
right.
The only thing about, I think the idea of the 264 is certainly it gets us more capacity. The concern I have there is maybe the 96s, but this probably goes back to the point Casella is making. We do have people that leave large items like broken beach chairs. And a part I was saying, well, maybe they'll be able to fit in the 96 gallons. I'm not sure they will in the, I
don't
look
think
at our
they will.
64 gallon at home
And
and
that's
I'm
what
not
we
sure.
say,
that-
if they don't fit, take it with you.
And how
Take it
often does that?
Well,
I know,
but
that we're
that's
back
all
to
we
the
do.
same
We're
problem.
back to the same, we're back to
We
the stickers.
gotta
Yeah.
try it, yeah.
Yeah,
If it don't fit, it don't stay.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I still think we're probably gonna have part of that problem. I
Well,
don't
I
believe
would-
that.
I'm sure we
yeah.
are.
I'm in favor of the 264s also for the same reasons we've talked about. It gives us more capacity. And I think, I don't know what we'll have to do if we find that people are still leaving broken beach chairs and things like that, what the town is,
We'll address it.
we'll
when we
figure,
get
we'll
there.
do, yeah.
Why not?
Have we considered one being recycling?
I was just gonna ask.
The problem with that is, we can't control what goes in it.
Yeah.
And Joe Schmo is gonna not care, and the minute you do that, we pay for the contaminated recycling.
Yeah.
Pay extra.
So, we pay extra,
Yeah.
okay.
That's the key.
Yeah, yeah, so, yes and no. Yeah, yeah. But-
John, on the trash contract, can I ask a question, because you're more of an expert than any of the rest of us here? One thing I found this past winter, that there were a few trash barrels, the old ones, left on, I think it was, I know there was one at Proctor or Edgewood, and it got very full.
Yeah.
And when I called the town to see what was happening, I was amazed to find out that supposedly there was not scheduled to be any Casella pickup from like January through early May. So I'm just wondering, do we have, because clearly people are using them.
No, I think we
Do we
need
have,
to
do
make
we
a
need to do
point.
something for next winter?
Yeah, we need to make
Okay.
a point that we have a winter pickup
Of
plan
some form, yes.
once a week,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
just empty the cans. I totally agree. I've
Good,
taken a note for
okay.
that.
great, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good thought.
Well, does someone want to make a motion on what we think we should do on the trash cans?
I move that we recommend that there be 2 64-gallon, or whatever it's called, trash
Yep,
cans
cans.
at each beach entrance.
And there are 8 total beach entrances, to my understanding, and Bartlett will be one of those 8.
Good,
So there
Great.
will be the 2 cans at Bartlett.
Okay,
okay,
And hopefully that should be all of them. If we find it's not, then we'll readdress. But
okay,
my understanding in talking to the folks, the 8 will include Bartlett, and that gets us back to where we traditionally have been
okay.
for
And we're-
placing cans.
And we're doing nothing at the far west end, that entrance, that's a public entrance, does
That
not?
is true.
Okay.
There's not one there.
Okay,
So if
I'm-
we find the smaller ones are blowing over, can we rethink and revisit the large ones?
Obviously, we
Maybe?
can approach anything we gotta fix, sure, sure.
Okay, so motion is there that we go to recommend to the town that they put 2 64-gallon trash barrels at each of the 8 entrances at the beach.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Perfect, thank you. And then the second part of the trash conversation, which is sort of under new business is where I put it, is just that we are gonna, now that we know what size and how many, we're gonna put some more signs on like we did last year in terms of everything needs to go in. But we don't have a firm estimate on how much those are gonna be, so what I'd like to propose is like a not to exceed $1,000. I think it's way under that,
Perfect.
but we don't have a firm number, so I'd like to make that motion.
About adding no beach chairs to the sign, that probably wouldn't work, huh?
No,
No large objects?
I think
Well, no, but it's no objects, period, is what we're saying.
it
Just
has to
saying all
fit in the
trash.
can.
It's gotta fit in the can. If it fits in the can, it's
It's
cool.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They wanna bend it up and put it in, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Second,
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye, okay, thank you. So we sort of did new and old business on trash. The parking discussion, we are working on sort of defining what the issues are. We were supposed to meet with Lori this afternoon, but she unfortunately had to reschedule. So it's sort of an ongoing conversation, and I think it's gonna take some time because the town is looking at sort of parking more broadly across the town, and I think our efforts will sort of roll up into that. So that's ongoing, is kind of where I would say that is. The next item is commercial activity on the beach, and I'm gonna let you handle that one.
yeah, I'm really happy and pleased to report that the town is going to meet face-to-face with Tides and EOS management tomorrow. So I'm very much looking forward to those discussions and hope we will have some positive movement.
Okay, great, thank you for your and Mary Beth's time.
Sure.
It's been a lot. Is there any other items that people wanna bring up or anything else? I feel like we zipped through the agenda.
And
I'm good.
we're on
Okay.
record.
Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye, okay, thank you very
Aye.
much for coming.
Thank